Hello ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Highland Reserve. After the excitement of the donkey rescue, we return this week to our regularly scheduled programming with our next farm animal edition. But first, I have a bit of explaining to do. You may have noticed, despite saying that I don't really have a plan for these videos, the titles and descriptions don't seem to line up with that. Well, that is because I got a bit ahead with these videos before I started posting anything, and I have only just now put together an outline for how I want this, and possibly the next 4 at least series to go. The narrative remains the same, just now I have an end goal in sight and a plan to get there. So, for the first time, let me introduce you to the Ultimate Keeper series. The objective? To go from a beginner keeper with no experience to owning or managing a number of wildlife centres worldwide, housing every animal currently available, including full breeding and conservation infrastructure for endangered species. Each zoo must prioritise the animal's welfare above all else, while also trying to turn a profit. This is a narrative-ish series, so that's all you're getting for now. Stay tuned to see the plan unfold. It's finally come time for us to make the generic breeze block concrete lambing shed. We all knew this was coming. In the British farm zoo, there's always going to be one big grey building that is entirely function and looks hideous. Well, that is today. But that intro should give you something to be excited about, eh? I knew this was going to be a pretty tame build, so I wanted to make it at least a bit more realistic as to what I see in farms around the UK. So having these dividers for lambing, you separate out the mother and the lamb to keep them together, make sure no one's being left out, or at least this is what I know from Clarkson's farm. That's about my extent on sheep husbandry. I think they look quite nice, but turns out these gates are actually too low for the sheep. They don't keep them in. I haven't included any footage, I don't think, of the sheep jumping over these fences because they don't look particularly good when they do it. That's more of a game problem than a sheep problem. And some of them, for some reason, do just jump back and forth. I don't know if they're doing it for fun, maybe they need some hurdles out in the field. That might make sense. They're not trying to sleep or anything, they just love a jump. They'll also jump over these railings to the outside, which is still not an issue. I just have to block off one side so that they can't jump out of the enclosure. But even if they did jump out, the way I've set it up, which you'll see in a minute, they'll just be jumping into another slightly smaller enclosure, where the male would be. So there's certainly a reason to jump in there, but we try and avoid it if possible. Because it is so ugly, I'm doing my best to hide this lambing barn behind our nice, pretty American-style donkey barn. As much as possible, anyway. I'm also trying to create a lot of wild spaces in between the habitats. There hasn't been a lot of room for it in the ones that we've already created so far. But there's a nice big strip between the donkeys and the sheep. I've tried to use a lot of wildflowers, long grass, bushes. Create a space that is untouched for natural wildlife. Birds, insects. Put a few of those insect houses down as well, to be as ecologically friendly as possible. I know grazing land is not as beneficial, certainly beneficial to the sheep, but not as beneficial to nature as an untouched space. This is the first time I'm using the gutters as well in Planet Zoo. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised at how easy they were to put together. I was slightly concerned that I was going to have to line everything up myself, but no, it all snaps. Very handy. mercifully as well, I've unlocked proper fences. I think in the barnyard pack? One of them. Proper pre-built fences. Obviously it's not as creative as doing it yourself and coming up with your own cool fences, but for the sake of this zoo, all we need really is something that does the job without using all the cool, you know, rock walls and trees and natural barriers that you try and include in a fully artistic and fleshed out zoo that you see some of these amazing builders putting together on YouTube. They just need to be plain fences really. So I could create unique plain fences for each and every exhibit, or I could just use the ones that they give us, which are perfect really. The actual fences look great, they're tall enough. I don't have a problem with using these at all. Did have a bit of an issue with the actual gates themselves. I couldn't figure out how they went together initially, but got there in the end. Used a couple of extra brain cells from somewhere. And this is the second paddock. It's a bit smaller, doesn't have access to the inside. I figure if you've got a whole herd of female sheep and you just bring a male in now and then to breed, obviously that's not going to be as common with this zoo because we're not selling lambs. But when we're running low and we don't want to buy in new animals, we want to breed our own, we're getting a male. They're here for a short time, so they don't need full access to the barn. They breed with the females, they go back into the exterior paddock, and then they can be taken away separately. It's a real world practical thought that has absolutely no bearing on the game. But it looks slightly more realistic, maybe? I don't know. I thought it was a good idea at the time, so I did it. I decided as well, if I'm going to add in these gates for access to the animals, I might as well put in some access roads. Now these aren't really roads, more like dirt tracks. The kind of thing you'd expect to see at the back of a farm. Although, there is one car in the base game, the little Jeep. I don't know what pack it's from, but there's a little yellow Jeep. I tried putting it on these roads and it's very narrow. You could probably use this as a 2-lane road. Don't know if that car's just tiny or what. I did a bit of this backstage dressing in the donkey habitat. In the front of the barn, the first 2 bays are... there's no straw in them, there's no bedding. It's all barrels and buckets and stuff. Stuff that I just unlocked through research. But I don't think I included that in the video. There was a lot going on in the barn build, so I think I cut a lot. But I thought I'd include a little bit of that here, a little bit of set dressing. Just a bunch of random bits of farm stuff. You know, hay maintenance, bedding, stuff that would be used to clean out the lambing barn. Extra food for the sheep. Extra bedding for the sheep. And then just a bunch of knickknacks that might be useful in and around the area or in the habitat. It was more just to make sure that this wasn't just a bare breeze block barn. Oh, it's a mouthful. Bare breeze block barn. Yeah, I think it's a nice little added extra touch to, you know, give it something worth looking at. If my voice sounds like it's all over the place, by the way, it's because I don't have a lot of time to record the voiceovers during the day. So I'm having to do it over a couple of days. And depending on the weather, my hay fever is kicking my ass. Although, I'm not complaining, I actually prefer my voice when I have the hay fever. Because I don't sound like me. You know when you get that gravelly, sick voice. It's just a little bit nicer than your regular voice. Or at least it is for me. Anyway, with that lovely thought on your mind, I'm going to leave you to enjoy the rest of the video in peace. I think you've had enough of my hay fever ridden mess of a voice. If you've made it this far again, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series. There's a lot more to come, and soon we'll be able to get into more interesting builds, which is always nice. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.